Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to the Friday night chop session with Stormybman for this Friday, April 2nd, 2021. And we're in number 104, and we're calling this the Day of the Jackal. That's right. Welcome everybody out there as we come on into another Friday night chop session with Stormybman. I want to say thank you to everyone that decided to come out and rock with me this evening. It's been a long week, and Stormybman has been trying to make it through. For some reason, this single week for me has seemed like 2 weeks. I'm like, man, I am really ready to take a vacation, man. I think that's what it is above anything else. It's time for vacation. Maybe even retirement, man. You know, Stormy is about ready, man. It ain't the same youthful exuberance and vigor. Not for me, man. I'm ready to kick back. Let me welcome some people out there in the chat. We got a lot of things to talk about with so little time. You know, it's amazing how when you're trying to do the things you want to do, how it's hard to make the time or have extra time. So, but we're going to try to get on into it, man. Welcome to everybody. Welcome to everybody. Let's see who we got out there. We got Young World out there. The chat started moving. As soon as I get ready to start reading off the names, the chat started moving right away. But we got Young World out there. He says, salute Big Storm in the chat. We got Mike 202 out there, my man. He says, blessings, Sensei. With the glove and the gi. That's right. Mike 202 is ready for the, kumite. We got Cono Loco Sports out there. What's going on with you, Loco? He says salute. And Bruce Goes, my man Bruce Goes is out there. Says salute, bro. Stormy B, man. And Reggie. And Big Homie Coop is out there. Says salute, Seafood. Back smack that like button. And class is in session. You know my man Big Homie Coop. That's his word as he greets in the building, man. Everybody else is saluting one another. Yeah, man. We feel like got something in my face. Anyway, we got some fights coming up this weekend, and thus the name of tonight's show, The Day of the Jackal. Now, for those of you out there who don't know who goes by the name of the Jackal in the ring, that will be Carl Frampton, okay? Carl Frampton, who's challenging Jamel Herring this weekend for his WBO title. And as we talk about the fight, and we'll get to the fight a little later and give our thoughts when Reggie gets in, and we'll break it all down for you. But they're gonna have this fight over in Dubai, okay? And it's for the WBO super featherweight title. Carl Frampton is challenging Jamel Herring. Now, for those of you who don't know, Jamel Herring is Simplified, that's his alias in the ring name. He's fighting out of the Bud Crawford camp, where he's trained by Brian McIntyre. So we're going to see what happens, yeah. But we're going to also talk about that fight a little bit later in the show. But I just wanted to explain, that's why we're calling it the Day of the Jackal, because the consensus is that Herring might not be up to snuff as far as taking on the challenge from Mr. Frampton. And we will get into that discussion. But just want to, welcome everybody and get into something that's kind of picking up from last night. Last night we had a conversation when the three wise men of boxing took a break from the regular scheduled Thursday night, and I decided to go ahead and do a stream, and I called it Boxing Since COVID-19. And it was kind of popular. People enjoyed the show. They enjoyed the discussion. I was hit up by a couple of people with positive comments on that show from last night. And I thought that I would come back this evening and just touch up on a couple of things, some news that has transpired since last night's airing, and try to throw the hat around into the chat and see what you guys' thoughts are as we find professional fighters are out here, battling COVID just like everyone else, because they're civilian people when they're not fighting. I wanted to know what you guys' thoughts were as we have got word that Showtime Sean Porter, who had been battling COVID himself, was released from the hospital. So he's back at home, and salute to Showtime Sean Porter for being able to get to a place where he can get home. Okay, that's the number one thing for us all, to make it home, be with your family and loved ones. And I hope that Sean, who, as far as I know, didn't have any fights on the immediate horizon, simply speaking over with the Crawford camp kind of half-heartedly to see if there could be something cooking around challenging for Crawford's WBO welterweight title. But if he didn't have anything scheduled, I would like to see Sean take some time out and just let his body rest and recuperate. We were talking about this last night on that show, and that's something where we can start trying to get a gauge of things, particularly with Sean, starting with him. We always know that when he prepares for his fights, he's an A1 guy when it comes to conditioning. Sean has never come into a bout looking out of physical shape, but in very top-notch shape, especially being considered a fighter at the top of the division. So it bears monitoring going forward, how much time he gives himself before he goes back into a training camp for a fight. And again, like discussed last night, this is where we're going to see how COVID affects professional athletes, because there have been people who didn't have pre-existing ailments, didn't have any physical problems, and after coming away from dealing with COVID, some of them, even months and months later, still find themselves a little weak at times, something going on with the breathing and things like that. So with this virus, no one knows what the long-term outcome is, because it just come upon us a year ago. But it bears watching. I'm telling you that when someone has recovered from this, to see what the long-term effects are with how, having come into contact with that virus, how it may affect the body going forward. Will it weaken you in a sense that, if you catch colds, your colds will be more severe? Do you have to rebuild stamina and things of that nature? We just don't know. And this vaccine is a situation where it's supposed to help, but I feel it's kind of been a little rushed, and what we see is only right before us. We don't have a track record yet, and we will need time for a track record. So that's, all I wanted to say about that is that now that Sean has come home and returned, for those of you who are following him on his social media, on his podcast, you should encourage him to keep us updated as fans and let us know what his status is as far as how he's holding up, how he's coping, and things of that nature. And keep like a journal and keep an eye on the brother, because, this is something we can learn from, all of us. So I just thought that I would mention that. It's funny how I sat here and I was getting things together for the show this evening and didn't yawn not one time. As soon as I go live, I start yawning. I don't know what that is. Could be nerves. I don't know. I saw some names come up in the chat that I wanted to acknowledge. We got Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. My partner, he's out there. My man Curtis Anderson is out there. He says, salute family. Salute to you, Kurt. Hope you're feeling better. PGH Big Dog is out there. Says, salute Stormybman in chat. Salute to you as well. Don't forget to smash that like button, man, as you come in. And everybody else is saluting everybody else. Also, while I have a moment, want to take the time out once again, PSA, you know what I mean, and give you guys an understanding that, there is the Stormybman merchandise where you can go down in the description box and click on that link for the Stormybman Streamlabs store. Get you some merchandise. We got baseball caps, we got book bags, we got coffee mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, a little bit of something to support the channel, and check out some of those items. You may find something that you like down there, and everything that is purchased off of there goes toward the show, making things bigger and better for you all. And Stormy has come a long way in a short time, and I just want to keep grinding, keep building, and being able to present you with something better and better and better. By the end of it all, I want to be able to make this a show where when you come here, you can get a lot within that little time that I'm out there. So just wanted to say that. Also, for you, those of you who aren't aware, Stormybman is also an official ambassador for the Black Gentleman's Grooming Company. Okay, and the link for that is in the description box as well, where we're supporting my man Junior the Truth over there with everything that he's doing with his channel and the Black Gentleman Grooming Company, with handmade products that get you going, whether it's the soaps, whether it's the lotions and pomades for cologne scents, and you got coffee over there. Junior is really doing it, man. That brother is an entrepreneur, and I've teamed up with him to be a part of trying to help that grow amongst the community, support your own, and doing some great things, But if you stop by there, there's a shareable link in the description here, and if you type in the code Stormybman, you get 10% off of your purchase. So you can get you a bundle or something, put that code in there, get yourself a discount on your items. They even got t-shirts over there for you as well. So a lot of good things going on, and glad to be working in conjunction with my man Junior the Truth, doing some positive things over there. So, but yeah, getting back to the show and us talking about the week's worth of news that has hit the airwaves and the channels out here. Some of the usual suspects some of the same old talking points. And, you know, Stormy don't like to follow up with all of that stuff that's been talked about over and over and over again. But there are some interesting tidbits that have dropped. You know, they're still waiting to see if they're going to be able to do anything with the Battle of the Brits, huh? That would be Anthony Joshua, unified heavyweight champion of the world, and Tyson Fury, WBC heavyweight champion. And these two men have been locked together trying to put together a fight between them that is supposedly going to make it the biggest fight in the history of British boxing, possibly. But that doesn't necessarily equate to a exciting fight. It just means that for the first time, those titles will be fought in-house by Brits. But will it really be in-house where we find that Mr. Fury can't really fight in the UK at this time? He gave up his license, and there's some behind-the-scenes drama that may dictate that he look in another direction. But there's also some behind-the-scenes drama that if he tries to pick that license back up in the UK, there may be some things that are waiting on the slate for him that he may not want to deal with at this time. Boxing is a funny sport, people. I'm going to tell you, if these guys had focused more on fighting and doing what we like to see fighters do, is that's fight the best in the sport and give us quality matches, maybe these little side distractions and interferences wouldn't be taking place. But since fighters have poor ethic these days, and they don't look to be manning up in the sport, you have all of this time for these other antics to take place. So we will see what happens with this drama. But Tyson Fury definitely has a battle ahead of him. Now, the thing about AJ is this. Why doesn't he just go ahead and try to make some fights for himself and get busy? Because staying stale on the shelf, whenever he does get a chance, if he does get a chance to face Fury, he's going to need all the experience under his belt as he can. He has never fought a fighter like Fury, size-wise or dimensions or skill-wise. So it would behoove Joshua to be more active. Never seen a guy who came into title possession as young as he did and hasn't done very much, hasn't improved very much, hasn't raised his game. And if he does get that opportunity to go in there with Tyson Fury, I think that Tyson Fury should be a heavy favorite against Anthony Joshua. But, you know, that's just a personal opinion, which doesn't mean much. But I've seen some boxing, and I think that AJ needs more seasoning. The caliber of opponents that he's fought and beaten are the type of fighters that you can kind of see him, you know, just as a showcase. But where's the marked improvement? Where has that jab gotten better? Where has, you know, his ability to break guys down gotten better? Has he learned to fight on the inside? Because we know that he had difficulty with that against Carlos Takam. He was showing difficulty with it against Joseph Parker. We saw him have some problems with Alexander Povetkin for a short moment, you know, and definitely Andy Ruiz Jr. So again, to substantiate my talking points on that, that's what we've seen from AJ, and it doesn't look like it's gotten better. What will have made a difference for him is, I believe, adding some Western philosophy to his fighting, whether it be for defensive capabilities or if it would be to refine his tools offensively. But he is yet to do that and doesn't think that's necessary, which is why I consider him a most vulnerable of champion or titleists out here today. So that's what I got to say about that. We've also heard on the news that, or in the news, I should say, on the news, in the news, where coming off of his successful Triller exhibition with Roy Jones Jr., Iron Mike Tyson, where the rumblings and rumors out there were that he may go for another exhibition with the possibility of it being Evander Holyfield, which I kind of scoffed at that when I heard it, because I'm like, man, that dude don't want no part of Holyfield. If he wanted Holyfield, he would have gave Holyfield a third fight years ago when they were still fighting professionally. But now, after being off for over 10 years and, you know, loading up his DNA with, you know, some other kind of chemicals and things like that, I don't think that Mike really wants a fighter like Evander, because Evander will have proven tough for him at any age and any stage, because they have a history and they have some ugliness that took place in history. So always remember, like, when you get a chance to get somebody back, who do you think would be more chomping at the bit to get in there with the other? Evander Holyfield getting at Mike, or Mike getting at Evander? To me, that's a no-brainer. Evander wants to go upside that dude's head, man, for what he did to him and biting his ears and taking a chunk, a significant piece out of one ear. So I think that that's something that, you know, we would see Mike Tyson avoid. Let's put it like that. I think he would avoid it. And I wouldn't want to see this anyway, because I feel like these guys are advanced age. I didn't want to see Roy and Mike in there. And Evander is like 4 years older than we are, because I'm the same age as Mike Tyson. I don't think that that's good, man. The guy is almost 60 years old. You know what I mean? So, no, I don't think that's a good idea at all. Salute to Queen71 out there in that super chat. She says, good evening. Finally caught your show. Enjoying and listening in the background. Salute to you, sister, and I'm glad that you finally got a chance to catch me on here and, you know, enjoy the show. Hope you enjoy the show. And you can always go back in the archives and check some of the catch some of the replays in the archives, because I leave it up for that purpose, for you all to be able to enjoy. You know, Stormy's always trying to leave stuff out there for you. Just take the opportunity. Yeah, so instead of Evander, word is having it that Tyson may opt to face Frank Bruno for a third time in an exhibition. Now, this is really interesting. I was looking at Frank Bruno when he fought Mike Tyson the second time. That guy is built like a superhero is drawn in the comics. So you draw any superhero in the comics with the muscles and, you know, the abs and this and that. That's what Frank Bruno looked like when he was fighting. But I saw a photograph where he took a picture with Mike Tyson recently, and Frank like has this bald head now and all of this. And dude, where did all those muscles go? Was Frank? Psh, psh, psh. I think he was, because he don't look nowhere near as big as he used to look. It's like he has gone and kind of like gotten smaller, man. And that's not a compliment. It's like, dude, he looked like a stream bean compared to what he used to look like. So what were they giving Sir Frank? Huh? I have no idea. Silvestrios out there says, Stormy salute. And Bruce Gold says, I heard De La Hoya and Jones Jr. was the next Legends fight. Listen, man, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Roy Jones and De La Hoya. There was a time when they fought on a HBO card together. I think it was a HBO card. I know it was James Toney and De La Hoya one time. But just like Jones wanted a piece of Trinidad, who I always felt was too small for Roy, now Jones wants to pick on Oscar De La Hoya. Which, I mean, it's okay because Tyson was bigger than Jones. Now Jones is bigger than De La Hoya. But is De La Hoya the same fighter? No, he's not. De La Hoya has had his share of the extra chemicals in his body, along with kitchen utensils and fish nets and all of that stuff too on the weird walk side. I don't know that it's not nothing I would be interested in. I would probably catch a replay of it, but wouldn't be chomping at the bit to purchase it for a live night's feed of boxing. There's so much other stuff I could do, like sleep. You know what I mean? That'll be more important to me to watch something like that. I'm just not an advocate of these elder statesmen in the sport of boxing who have retired and now working on having grandchildren. I don't think they should be in the ring fighting. I really don't. And there will probably be something to transpire that somewhere down the line it's going to show and prove that Stormy was right about it. And I don't feel good about that because people don't learn until behind start to burn. That's the thing. I talked about that last night as well. That man don't have the spirit for danger anymore. Everything that's dangerous, man, runs right to it, as if mystery is alluring as a flame is to a moth. And I am not of that ilk. I'm not so curious that I'm willing to shell out $100 or near $100 to watch two old guys like that in a so-called exhibition. But one of the things they are showing these present day guys is that they can come back in the sport, make the kind of money more than these guys make, because these guys don't want to face the quality of opposition that could either prove or disprove their abilities to be, worthy of big purses and things like that. The only purses that these guys are looking for are the man bags that they carry around, with their Gucci and all of that foolishness. You see them out there getting out of cars with them little man purses. Come on, man. You would never see Marvelous Marvin carrying a man's purse, or Sugar Ray Leonard, or Tommy Hearns for that matter. No way. No way. So it just remains to be seen, man. It's like some funny business going on. And I think these guys are trying to show these guys that, hey, be a man. You know what I'm saying? And let's see, we go back to the chat. We got Canadian Maple fan out there. He's saluting me. And he said, Stormy, Frampton was manhandled by Warrington. Warrington we exposed in his last fight by what was exposed in his last fight by Lara. So do you think that Frampton is easy pickings for Herring this weekend? Not off of that last fight that Herring had against Okendo. He didn't look like the toughest guy in the sport in that fight. He had a cut eye. He looked like he was laboring a bit, and Okendo was coming on in that fight before they stopped it on the scorecards. And Frampton was, I keep calling Herring Frampton. Herring was able to go on and secure a retention of his title, but he damaged his brand because he looked like he was looking for a way out of that fight. But hindsight being 2020, as we spoke on last night, Herring has been one of those guys who had a bout with COVID. Now, did that affect him in that fight? It's a possibility. We cannot rule out COVID's symptoms on dealing with these fighters, especially their breathing and their stamina. So if by some chance COVID was responsible for some of that laboring that Herring dealt with against Oquendo, he might have a claim there. He may have a claim. But in this fight against Frampton, who has far more experience, it's going to come down to something else. And that's going to be the inner fortitude for Herring. Because this fight is being fought in Dubai, there's no home advantage for Herring whatsoever. But there will be an advantage for Frampton because he would be considered international more so than the U.S.-based Jamel Herring. He has to go into this fight with that type of understanding. Will he do that? I'm not certain. Especially for a fighter who in his last fight looked to his corner to see if he was in a place that he could quit and still hold his title. That doesn't leave my mind. And let's just say this. Frampton was able to witness that as well. You don't think that he's going to try to create a situation where pressure, which bursts pipes, would be applied to Herring, and if Herring's stamina and conditioning isn't what it would normally be pre-COVID, is that something that would be taxing on him as well? Again, this is another fight, another fighter who's had contact with COVID. You look at his performance, you kind of analyze it, look at him as the fighter first, and how he's able to perform, how his shape looks in the match, and start documenting and setting that stuff to the side for further analysis and for record keeping and safekeeping, because I do believe there's going to be a pattern, whether fighters win or lose, how their performances are measured post-COVID is something important for us to talk about. You know? Bruce Gold says, as soon as they saturate the sport with legend fights, it will lose its appeal, and these cats can go back to the home. Listen, Bruce goes, one thing about boxing is this. There's always a guy on the horizon who nobody knows about that may be ready to take any champion's title away from him at any given time, because the promoters and the way that they move and the way that they position mandatories within the sanctioning bodies and stuff like that, all of that plays a huge role in keeping promoters in a place where, again, if they can latch home to a starving fighter, they can promise that fighter the moon and the stars, right? And they can have them waiting in the graces. In the meanwhile, they got a guy making money for them right now. But if he begins to look bad, begins to slip, happens to lose, they have someone else waiting in the wings right there to take his spot. That's why these fighters need to learn, man. They really need to learn. D. Hodges has joined us. He says, what up, Stormy, panel, and chat? LDBC, salute. Salute to you, D. Hodges. Good to see you, bro. Yeah, so that's one of the things that we can always keep in mind. Will the guy who's coming up, and there are some fringe contenders that are right outside the top 10, who may be ready to challenge for the title late this year. And some of these fighters who are holding championships they don't look active. They don't look like they want to do anything. They just kind of like having that status. They're going through the motions, so to speak, and things of that nature. That makes all the difference in the world. And you got hungry guys fighting a couple times every other month. It's like, hey, man, that guy has his timing. He has his, focus, and he has desire and determination. Champions are loving their cars, their women, their status, their clothes, their swag, all of that stuff. There ain't nothing I said had anything to do with damn boxing. So, guess what? They're not thinking about boxing. If you're a fighter and you're not thinking about boxing, you're in trouble. About these guys of today, a lot of them will tell you things like, I don't watch boxing. What? You're in a sport where you have colleagues and contemporaries who are just around the corner from you and may challenge you within the next couple of weeks or months or whatever, and you tell me you're not watching anybody? That ain't smart. Especially when you don't listen to the coaches that you have on your payroll. You just want them to say, yes, you're looking great, man. You shadow boxing. Yeah, I like how you're looking in that mirror. Huh? Think about it. Canadian Maple fan says, thanks, Stormy. Very pivotal comments. Yes, sir. Definitely, bro. This is what it is. A lot of people just don't have what it takes, man. When you're talking about boxing, they don't have what it takes to be a solid guy. Steady as rain. Those days are gone. And it's a shame. Because when fighters adopted that type of mindset, they're not only difficult to defeat, but they usually left something legacy-wise in their wake. I don't see a lot of that with these guys of today. Bruce Gold says, I'm speaking of fights coming like Marquez versus Cotto. Those type of fights. The retired stars who gave us so much and now they're all coming back. Enough of that is what I meant. Oh, yeah. I'm telling you. And it won't be until something tragic happens. And that may not happen for a while, or it could happen the very next night. But I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it, man. Professional fighters, when they get late in their 30s and they decide they don't really want to fight, but they have that propensity to come back after like 2 years or whatever. You know what that is? It's like when you were eating on a sandwich and you left half of it on the plate and you want to come back and get it later, but somebody took the plate and threw the sandwich out because they was cleaning the dishes. You're going to get mad at them. Why ain't you get mad at yourself? Why ain't you communicate on what you're doing with this motorized vehicle in the house for your kids? You know what I'm saying? It does make a difference. Salute to L-Dub Boxing out there. He says, what's good? What's good with you, bro? He says, Lubin versus Rosario is coming in June. Your thoughts? Erickson Lubin and Jason Rosario. It's a good fight. Two young brothers out there. They both have taken a loss. So they don't have to have that fear factor of losing and defending that O. But both having lost by knockout will give us a chance to see how studious they have been to be able to still be aggressive yet defensive at the same time, or more mindful of their defenses, because both, when stopped, were stopped because of poor defense. Yeah, it comes around, doesn't it? So one of the two is going to have to show that he has improved, or at least learn valuable lessons to where he can apply them to his science. Will that take place? That remains to be seen. But it's a good fight between those two young men. Canadian Maple fan says, Stormy, one question has me baffled for a multitude of years. Mexican and South American boxers have legendary history in this sport. However, their ancestors from Spain, Portugal have not participated. It would appear to me that there could be more who have participated and haven't let their lineage be known. You know, there's so much bias in this world that it's very hard for certain fighters to show who they are naturally. I mean, in this day and age, people want you to show who you are, you know. But in a time not so long ago, keeping certain information about your background and everything under wraps allow you to have a career and be advancing in your career. But it's definitely something to think about and to have as a discussion, because I would like to know which fighters out there are trying to do damage control as far as who they are and where they've been. But it's a tremendous question and consideration. Salute to you for it. D. Hodges says, watching Bellator, it's on Showtime right now if y'all interested. D. Hodges, did you come over here just to say that? You know, Stormy is over here trying to do his show, man. People who want to watch Bellator will watch Bellator. But please don't come in here advertising something that I don't even talk about, because I'm over here talking boxing. It ain't nothing on here that says MMA, okay, or UFC. Stormy don't do that. And I don't go to other people's chats and channels doing the same if they happen to be talking about that, trying to sway them over to talk about something about boxing. So please, I ask you one last time, don't do that. Back to this thing about Tyson and Bruno. The fight between Tyson and Bruno that took place when Tyson had come back to the sport of boxing. Bruno had won the title from former WBC champion Oliver McCall. It was a tough, grueling fight for Bruno. It was fought in the UK, I do believe, and Bruno was able to pull out a close majority decision over Oliver McCall, snatching the WBC title away from McCall and Don King, because Don King was really the proprietor in that situation, because he signed people up to fight for that title. And if you happen to win against one of his fighters, he signed options where he gets to promote your future fights. And he had that type of grip on the division for a number of years. The interesting thing about that is this. When Bruno won that title, Don King had options on him. So it would be just a matter of time and he have to face Mike Tyson when Mike Tyson was ready to fight for that title. The irony is this. Lennox Lewis was the #1 contender for that belt, and he had already defeated Frank Bruno just a few years earlier. Now Bruno had the belt that Lewis had, and Don King wasn't going to let that happen because he knew that Lewis was going to knock Bruno out again, so he saved it for Mike Tyson. Now Mike Tyson defeats Frank Bruno, but ducks Lennox Lewis after defeating Bruno. What I'm getting at is the manipulation of the sport has always gone on. The players have changed, but the game remains the same. Now Tyson wants you to spend your pay-per-view money watching him face a guy that he brutally knocked out twice. Are you going to go for that, people? Are you really going to go for that? Or are you going to allow your sensibilities kick in and watch one of these young lions that's, maybe ready to face somebody? But I would not pay to watch Mike Tyson against Frank Bruno. I've seen that so many times, and I could just pull out the tapes and watch him beat up on Bruno in one of the 2 fights that he fought him. Simple as that. My man Boxing and Barbecue is out there, says Stormy. And Big Texas Cletus is out there, says salute family with the thumbs up. Salute to you, man. Good to see you brothers out there, man. So yeah, I don't want to see Mike Tyson and Frank Bruno. There are people who love to watch train wrecks and crashes. I'm not one of them. But they're going to do their thing. And there's going to be people out there, to watch it. There's an audience for that built in. You know what I mean? Bruce Goes is out there. He says, to maintain that psyche, natural or with drugs, you must lift heavy every day and eat like a horse. I can tell you from experience that you can't keep that swole when you get old. Yeah, man. It's just like, but have you seen Frank Bruno, Bruce Goes? Have you seen him lately? Dude, he looks so much little, right? I mean, my goodness. That's just like Michael Spinks. Have you seen Michael Spinks? It's hard to believe he was the light heavyweight champion of the world, let alone heavyweight champion for defeating Larry Holmes. Michael Spinks looks like a middleweight or a junior middleweight now. If you see him physically, man, it's hard to believe that brother was a professional fighter. You just look at him. He look like an average man. Older man, senior citizen. And that's not putting him down. It's just like he's so small now. It's like, wow. I think he got up to 212 pounds when he fought Mike Tyson, Michael Spinks. And he fought at light heavyweight, man. That's, oh, man. Just the thought of what went down and how he, But it's very interesting, right? Very interesting that he had that guy, Mackie Shieldstone, to help him put on all that extra weight to become a heavyweight. Something else, man, just watching that. And then you see him today and be like, man, how did he do that? So just trying to see where you guys are out there. Yeah, buddy. I was waiting for Reggie. I don't know if Reggie is coming on this evening. He don't usually take this long to come in, so I might be winging it alone tonight. But that's okay. I got you guys. I'm not by myself. Bruce Gold says, I know you should see the Mr. Olympias of the 90s. Giants that are now meager men. Yeah, I was never into that, so it's kind of tripped out that you say that, Bruce Goes, because I would imagine if you showed me a photo of them in their heyday of competing and then what they look like today, it's like, wow, they is a tremendous difference. But I tell you one thing, Bruce Goes, that doggone Lou Ferrigno still looks good, don't he? Man, Lou Ferrigno, I met him at Comic-Con about 4 years ago. Might have been 5, because we had COVID. We didn't have Comic-Con last year because of COVID. But I met him about 4 years ago, and I asked him, I had a question, you know. I said, Lou, I said, when you were competing, because everybody talked about how big he was, right? And that's why they picked him to play the Incredible Hulk, because he was a bigger man. He was like 6'4", but his mass was such that he looked more like the Hulk in mass than other guys. They might have had more definitive cut than him. They weren't as tall as he, and you know, their muscles weren't as large as his. So I asked, I said, what's the largest you ever let yourself get up to? And he said, oh, I was about 265, 270, something like that. I was like, dang, that was huge. Because when I saw him, dude, he was like 220 or something like that. So Lou was a massive man. And when he played the Hulk, he was no joke. Lou Ferrigno, man, I always admired the guy because he overcame some childhood difficulties with not being able to hear and things like that. And he made himself into a person to be acknowledged in this world, man, with his success and becoming the Incredible Hulk and doing everything he did as far as cinematic. He played Hercules. He played a couple of other sword and sandal films. Lou Ferrigno was just a all-around pretty darn good guy, man. And when I got a chance to meet him, it was like I met a true icon in life, you know. So that was great, man. That was great. Yeah. Yeah, Bruce Scholes, I'm aware of that. That's why I just said it. I was talking while you was typing. So, yes, sir. But what a massive guy. He did that little thing like this where you curl your arm and make a muscle, man. That thing looked like he had a softball under his skin, you know. It's just like unbelievable, man. I admire guys who lifted weights and stuff like that, because I could never, when I was coming up, I could never put on mass like that, put on muscle, you know. But you know, some guys, it's all genetics, man. Some guys come out the womb looking ripped and stuff like that. Like, if you ever saw Roy Jones Jr. when he first turned pro and he was like 154 pounds, you was wondering, like, where was Roy's body fat at? He had muscles that just, you could see the indentations of his hip flexor bone and everything, and he had no mass. He was just muscle and bone. And when he started moving up, he was, you know, filling out more. It's like, wow. It's like, how did he get down to be that little at 154 like that? That was amazing to me. Okay, I see my man Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens has joined us now. What's good with you, Reggie?
Oh man, nothing. Just getting in the house. End up getting pulled over, so end up delaying my travels.
Oh, man, you can't stay out of them graces of them people, can you? What you do?
No, me and the police is cool. I deal with the YouTube police more than I deal with the regular cops. It was no. They pulled me over for a tag. Cop looking nervous and stuff, but because my demeanor when I deal with me, asking the normal question, they try to ask where you going. Like, that don't matter where the hell I'm going. I'm going where I'm going.
Yeah.
Just run this stuff and get it over with so I can get back on this road.
Yeah, man, just remember what I said opening in this show. The most important thing is getting home. Just remember that. Don't forget it. Yeah, but
yeah, exactly.
Welcoming you to the show this evening. Talked about a few things, trying to save some, you know, conversation for you for when you came on. But was there anything out there that I've touched on that you would like to come in and say something about thus far?
Yeah, now you had on one point, man, regarding fighters who talk about not watching a sport, not watching video. To me, that's like that makes me think, like, what the heck? Like, what do you mean you don't watch the sport of boxing? What do you mean you don't watch these other fighters out here? And I think that's what kind of kills off these fighters becoming special fighters.
Yeah.
Leaving lasting moments, because it's the same thing you see with highly athletic and gifted people when you look through the sport of football, where a lot of these dudes don't spend the time watching film, studying who the other players are out there. Basketball players that don't spend the time watching other plans and strategies put in by teams, but people just going off of their so-called raw gifts when everybody else out there with them have raw gifts. And to not study, it's no different than a student in school. It'll play out when those exams are given out. And that's always like tripped me out to hear that. But I think some people run off of what gifts they have. You hear the same crap in rap music where people talk about they don't write because they may have heard one established or accomplished artist speak about not writing, then the rest of these fools don't write, and then we end up with mumble rap. And that's kind of what I look at with boxing. But yeah, that was a cool point right there.
Yeah, isn't that something? I'll come right back to that as well. Just give me a give me a moment to recognize some people that came into the chat there. We got my man Stay Sharp is out there. He says salute to the chat and the OG Stormy B man. Salute to you, Stay Sharp. And he says that he had another comment there. He said, I was ripped out of the wound. And my kids also, genes. Yeah, man, for some guys, it's just straight up genes. I had a friend when I was a small kid. And I think we was like 7, 8 years old. And, we were out there in the yards and stuff doing kung fu, karate. We see the movies and we come home, try to do it. And then that sucker pull his shirt off and start flexing his muscles like Bruce Lee. And I was like, man, where you get those muscles from? That sucker was born that way, bro. He didn't lift a weight in his life. And he had those, what do they call it, the wings and everything. He was stretching his back and stuff. I was like, he made me mad, man. I went in the house, man. I'm like, this dude got muscles like men who train and work out, and this dude just born like this. Put me to shame. I was like, man. But I just wanted to get back on that point that Reggie brought up that I was talking about earlier. The guys that are not invested in the sport. It sounds real foolish to hear a young man who's a professional boxer, not 30 years old yet, talking about, I don't really watch boxing. What? What? That's like a guy who hang out in a bar, but he talking about, I don't drink. What you doing in the bar? Huh? Where ain't nothing but drinking going down. It don't really make sense to me. Not that I'm pushing someone to drink. I'm just saying, it's like, really? You at the brothel, but you don't want to get your freak on. Whatever. But anyway, when these guys don't invest, Reggie, that's the thing. And I'm talking about it because if you're going to be involved in it, you need to know as much about it as possible. That's why a few years back when Anthony Joshua was like, what is lineal? I just now hearing of lineal. When he was trying to profess that he did not understand what lineal was. He said that publicly, and it wasn't a joke. Somebody told him what it meant and everything. But how do you be a part of a sport where you don't even know where some of the jargon is, and you have no idea, and you think the sport just started when you arrived on the scene or something? That's the most idiotic thing. These guys out here, and there's a number of them that they don't watch the sport. they may watch a certain individual because they either hate on him or they roll with him, or like they say now, I F's with somebody. But it's like, listen, you need to learn what this is all about. It's more than just guys out there throwing punches at each other and everything. But you can actually say it. Reggie, what you said was true for music and it's true for the sport. That mumble rap and all that stuff come from people not wanting to write out the lyrics and don't want to study and learn how to sing in keys and stuff like that. It's like, okay, and now you got all this dumbed down stuff. You know, I remember seeing that one Chappelle Show episode when they showed them they was at the disco or the, you know, dance hall or whatever, and they was, you know, out there grooving to the music and everything, and then one of them mumble rap songs came on, right? And the guy was doing, and David Chappelle was dancing, but he looking around like in the air like this, like what the hell? He was trying to figure out what was being said and what am I dancing to? You understand? This is exactly it. Well, what are we watching? When you tune in to watch some boxing for a dude that ain't invested in the sport of boxing, and he's saying he don't really watch boxing. So what are you doing out there? Seriously. You know? And it's not just a few. It's quite a few. That's one of the reasons why I was given some real shine to what's our man named there, Reg, the young brother Shakur, because he found a way to get invested by working corners and stuff, and it's like quite naturally you're gonna have to be a student of the game to be helping someone out in a professional fight, and you're working as the chief of his corner. My hat's off to him for those type of efforts, because that means that he's understanding what he's doing, and he's not just out there doing it, but he's out there helping someone else do it. You know what I mean? You don't see a lot of that. That's the equivalent of Bill Russell coaching the team that he played for, you know, the Celtics back in the 60s. He's coaching the team, and he's a player coach. You got to have some, IQ to be doing that stuff. You can't be no big dumb jock out there trying to run the team and then you playing too. It's hard enough to get a guy to dribble a ball and chew gum at the same time. You got anything else on that?
No, that's all I got on that, man. But I just think that's one of the dumbest things that I hear from athletes, man, especially our athletes, to where they speak of it. It's almost to say, it's another way of them saying, I'm so great, I don't even got to watch these videos, I don't even got to pay attention to these guys. And then when they take a loss, the stories sound way different because of the preparation wasn't there. Yeah,
absolutely. And let's see, I want to go back into the chat for a quick moment. We had 225 Boxing Talk says, salute Stormy, salute to you. Stay Sharp says, these athletes are lost, brother Reggie. It is sad. And L-Dub says, watching the fights is the best part of the sport, not pocket watching or drama. Absolutely, L-Dub. You couldn't have said it better right there. Bruce Gold says, I used to work out with some of those genetic freaks. They could just look at the weight and eat cake and still be ripped. I know what you mean, Stormy. Yeah, man. Make me mad, man. I'm doing push-ups and sit-ups, and my stomach and muscles and everything slowly coming on. And I'm looking at these dudes, and like you said, they eating what they want, whatever. They just came out the womb looking like that. I'm like, man, sucker. Yeah, Jeffrey the Ruin is out there, says that mumble rap analogy is real. That's what we got. That's what we're gonna wind up getting if the sport isn't careful. Jeffrey, we're there, bro. It's not what we're gonna wind up getting. We got it. It's here. That's what we're trying to say. L-Dub is out there. He says Chris Colbert worked the corner too. Nikita Abity was the fighter. Hey, I didn't see that, man, but that's pretty cool if Chris Colbert is doing it as well, because I don't want to just make it seem like Shakur is the only one. I've spoken about it because I actually witnessed Shakur doing it, and I thought very highly of him for that. But if Colbert has done it as well, hats off to him, because that means that they've taken more of the sport in than just being a participant, and you could actually utilize that. And lastly, like I recognized in my younger years, you could have a further career in boxing being a trainer and a coach than you can being a fighter, because as a fighter you can make a lion's share of money, but your time be limited. But if you can transfer over into being a coach and trainer, you can do that to the day you die, you know, and you could be imparting your wisdom on someone who you can help cultivate and develop beyond the point of where they are. So that's great stuff. Big homie Coop says, facts, Stormy B, man. Russell did that. Yeah, talking about coaching the Celtics and being a player coach. DT is out there, says, salute at Stormy B, man. Salute at Reggie and everyone in the chat. L-Dub Boxing says, Chris Colbert is training some celebrities for Zab Judah's new celebrity boxing series tomorrow. Yeah, but see, I mean, that's something totally different too. It's like, if they're gonna have those shows like that, you know, with celebrities being on there and stuff, that's one thing. But hey, if they want to do something, bring back The Contender, man. I used to like that show where they show those young boxing prospects coming together. I always thought that was pretty cool. Did you like The Contender, Reggie?
Yup, it gave K9 Bundridge a good start of his career. It ignited, what was his name? Stevie Forbes got a reigniting to his career. I thought it was real good. Production-wise, it could have been better, but other than that, it was dope. Tournament style, it was great.
Yeah, and I saw the first couple of seasons where Sylvester Stallone and Sugar Ray Leonard were involved, and I actually have those. I recorded them on DVD-R. And I really enjoyed that, man. It's like, and when that went away, I was like, man, I hate that. And I remember K9 Bundridge and those guys on that show. See, something like that gave you, you know, if you're a young man and you want to do that, it gave you like an inside track to the sport and how it is. And it's like, it could give somebody something to shoot for. These guys today, they were young enough to see that show, but it's obvious that the show didn't have no impact or impression on them. But a show like that could do wonders for people. Instead of having it for celebrities, have it for real guys who want to fight in the sport. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, salute to L-Dub for mentioning that, because if somebody wants to check that out, it's out there to be seen. But I want them to bring The Contender back, man. I really missed that show. DT is out there. He says, I saw an ad today on a music app for boxing YouTubers versus TikTok people. Oh, boy. I don't know, man. But anyway, Reg, let's get on back into the show where I had some, I tried to save some topics for you, for us to talk about. I hear that on the horizon, it's been mandated that Ryan Garcia go out there and he may be facing Javier Fortuna, and I wanted to get your take on that and let me know what your thoughts were regarding something like that coming off, because you know he did all of that yip yapping, clout chasing as they like to say now, and didn't face any of those people. Tank, Manny Pacquiao, you know, Haney, all that talk he was doing, only to go back and now have to face someone from the division that, you know, is a more experienced fighter than he may want. What are your thoughts?
I'm for the first time the WBC done did something of sense. And I don't think it was Mauricio. It could have been them other board people but to force this with Ryan, because Ryan's doing a lot of cornball type stuff. And even looking at Ryan, he's already talking this retiring at 25 or 26. I don't even think his head is fully in the game. I think he want to go off and do some girly type stuff, maybe become a model. And I just got a notification of a YouTube channel he got, and it's on some Fierce. It's called Fierce with Ryan. That's kind of fruitcake as hell to me. So I don't know if he wants to be in this, gladiator type sport. And now he's gonna go in here with Javier Fortuna, who's a rugged dude. He gonna really push, and we gonna get to see what Ryan Garcia really has in him. I mean, for the Luke Campbell, he showed the heart, and he showed the ability to dig deep, getting up off the canvas. But Fortuna is gonna be a different ball game than Luke Campbell. This is gonna be a different ball game, and Fortuna's hungry. He ain't about to let a young dude come in here and stun him, but this young dude is dangerous as well if Fortuna doesn't clean things up. He is quick on the draw, got quick hands, but he leaves himself exposed. Even with Reynoso being as his coach, who we see Reynoso works well with teaching head movement with Canelo, Ryan Garcia just hasn't picked up on it. And I just with the mechanics Ryan Garcia has, I don't think that's going to be a fundamental that he's going to adapt into his game. And it's going to start catching up with him. If Luke Campbell is not known to hit like that, can drop him, and it didn't just drop him in between throwing a punch, he caught him solidly and dropped him. He's going to face a lot of problems, and that's probably why he's already doing this talk as a young fighter of talking retirement type stuff. And I just don't think is fully in his heart to stick in this game long. I think he's going to make his quick run, get the quick money, and he'll make his money elsewhere. He's probably adding other streams of creating revenue for himself. He has that following. Maybe he can translate that money. I don't think boxing is in his heart. But not saying this is where the road ends for him. But this is gonna be a tough fight, and they forced him into this. He talked all this other stuff of fighting these guys like Pacquiao, which made zero sense in the world. The Devin Haney fights he's steering away from. The Tank Davis fights he's steering away from. He just does too much clout chasing, and right now that's not needed from young fighters. But that's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, and my thoughts are, I think the Campbell punch brought a sense of reality to this kid. That's what did it. He's knocked some people out, Garcia, right? He had some showcase fights, and he had a couple of fights where he had spectacular looking knockouts. But had Luke Campbell been a good fighter, I don't think he's a good fighter. I think he's a little less than a good fighter. And there may be some people out there that's like, oh, Stormy is crapping on Campbell and this and that. But no, a good fighter would have finished Ryan off after dropping him like that, because he was wide open, as we've talked about, and you take advantage of opportunities like that, and he didn't. If anything, Campbell looked to backtrack after that. It's like, oh, I wasn't supposed to do that, almost that type of thing. Now Fortuna is this type of guy. He's an aggressive guy, a little wild at times or whatever, but he's rugged. And if he sees any bit of, Bambi in Ryan Garcia, he's going to bring more of it out of him. That's the type of person he is. He's like a truth serum for a person like that. So it's going to be very interesting. And if he can get to Garcia's chin like Campbell did. Campbell's, like I said, he's not that good, but he actually put Ryan on his behind and didn't follow that. How do you do that and not take advantage of that? It escapes me. But what will happen if Fortuna gets him like that? So I'm thinking that what Garcia is going to look to do is he's going to look to try to blitz Fortuna. if the fight comes about. This is just like a pre thought on what I could see transpiring. He would look to try to open up very quickly on him and try to blitz him. But the experience of someone like Fortuna, if Fortuna has a type of punch that could hurt Ryan, he should definitely not show it right away. Surprise him with it. And see, that's the thing about young guys. They think they know better, right? Because they're successful, they're doing certain things or whatever. But it's like, I heard a guy telling a story one time about a puncher. He was like, when you get in there with this guy, watch out for his left hook. It's like when he hits you with it, it's going to be soft, you know. It's going to be soft. It'll be like powder puff. Ain't nothing, you know. And he's like, but that's not the punch to watch out for. He's like, but the punch to watch out is the left hook that he throws that he's going to try to knock you out with. Because he's going to make you think that he ain't got nothing on that left hook. And as soon as you leave him an opening, he going to hit you with it and either turn your lights out or put you on your ass. And the guy was like, okay. He listened to it and he went out there, and exactly like he said, the guy was hitting him with these left hooks, and it wasn't nothing. They would get in exchange. The guy hit him with that left hook. It was like a slap. It wasn't doing nothing. And then the guy got brave and went in there and went to exchange, and that guy said, boom, dropped that left hook on the dude, and he was out cold. You see? And it was an experienced trainer telling him to watch out, what to watch out for, and he still got drawn into what he wasn't supposed to get drawn into. That's the kind of situation that we saw last week with Maurice Hooker. You know, he got drawn into something when he was doing okay, but he still got drawn into something. You have to have the discipline within self to go bell to bell, and no matter what happens, stay the course. And Ryan Garcia in that fight against Campbell, I think he saw something, as the other Ryan would say, but he saw the lights, you know, when he got hit that shot. So that those are my thoughts on that, Reggie.
Yeah, no, I don't have any other thoughts, but I think Fortuna is going to definitely make this an interesting fight. It's going to be a supreme test for Ryan Garcia. And this is really the fight that he needs to really see where he's at. Because if he ain't ready, and I think he's not ready, in his mind, he may be ready skill-wise, speed-wise, but mentality-wise, I think he's afraid of those other guys. And this buys him time. But it's like they're forcing him into it because they got tired of the Ryan Garcia talk. He mumbling too much jaw jacking. And they've gotten tired of it. Now they're gonna force him into a fight in which he gonna have to put up or he gonna have to shut up and do the fierce talk with Ryan Garcia's show. I don't get that, man.
Yeah. Another fight with these lightweights, Reggie, that's been discussed now and it looks like it's headed for May 29th, is Devin Haney, the Dream, against Linares. What are your thoughts about this one? I really like to hear you clearly say on this, because this could be something very interesting as far as what my thoughts are. But go ahead and let me know what you think about this.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know too much about Linares at all. Most I know about him was his fight with who was that, Lomachenko, in which he dropped Lomachenko. That's about the most I've gotten off of Linares. Can see he can box pretty well. He's an experienced fighter. Now going in here against Devin Haney, this is going to be a good test for Devin Haney as well. Going in here against a much older fighter with experience, fighter who's natural to this weight. But Devin Haney's kind of big for this weight as well, and he's a young fighter, so this is going to be a test for him as well. Even though I favorite Devin Haney, that doesn't guarantee him a win. He looks spectacular. He has a lot of speed, good mobility, but he's still going in here against a veteran fighter who may see tricks. He may know something that this young fighter may go in here and try to utilize against him, and he finds openings within that. Unless Devin Haney can put the pressure up on Linares, but he's going to have to keep things clean. We'll have to see what happens, but I'm not going to count Linares out. You don't know too much about, the visuals of watching him fight. I do remember that fight with him and Loma. He gave Loma a real tough time. But he also folded in that fight against Loma. But not to say Devin Haney is Lomachenko. Lomachenko is a very experienced dude. Linares is a very experienced dude. And they put on a heck of a fight together. So I think this could be a tough fight for Devin Haney as well. It can be a very tough fight for him, just based on the experience that Linares has. That's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I think that you're not far off with Linares being a decent boxer and everything. But what I like about this fight, Reggie, is this. If Devin Haney, this is the principle for this fight. If Devin Haney has what they've spoken about him having, this above average talent, right? This fight should be a clear-cut victory for him, whether he totally outboxes the guy or knocks him out. If Devin doesn't have what they feel that he has, this fight could look like a bit of a struggle for Devin. But that's okay. You know why? Because if he's able to box like they said he can, he should be able to make adjustments in there and do some things. Linares, I don't know when his last fight was. I remember the Lomachenko fight, though, and he was doing well until it seemed like Lomachenko came at him a little more aggressively, and then he kind of fell apart or whatever. And the shot that he dropped, Lomo, he never really threw that punch again. So I was kind of questioning that. But this is the type of fight that Devin should be fighting, and fighters like Devin should be fighting, because you're a champ, not a champ. You're a challenger and a contender who is supposed to be able to bring something. And if you don't have what you need to have, then this is the type of fight you drop. But I think it's another showcase fight in the sense of the athleticism that Devin has probably is going to be trouble for Linares. But Linares can still have some sting on his punches and everything and turn it into a fight. And that's what I would really like to see, that Devin gets challenged in a way where he has to solve the problems. You don't need guys that are just going to fall apart when you get in there, or you take them a certain length and then they fall apart or they lay down and stuff like that. You need someone who's going to offer up some resistance, ask questions of you, put you under a little strain and heat. You know what I mean? And that's what I think is what's really needed. So I like this fight, and I hope that he can get more like this after this. But people are going to measure what he does against Linares as opposed to what Lomachenko did. And that's okay, because they're around that division. But let's just see him do the best that he can and make some adjustments in there. Make adjustments. I think that goes a long way when fighters can make adjustments. L-Dub out there in the chat says Linares' last fight was February 2020. Okay, so almost a little over a year. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But I like the matchup. I think this is a good matchup for him at this time. And those are my thoughts on that. And I look forward to it. It's only a month away, Reggie. It's like a little over a month rather. But things are starting to pick up in the sport of boxing. So we got these fights on the horizon like that. By the way, are you calling the Ennis Lipinets fight?
Oh, heck yeah. Next Saturday, right?
No, that's yeah, the 10th.
No,
the 10th.
Herring and Frampton tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the 10th, next Saturday. So, yeah, the reason I'm asking is because, you know, the way they put these bouts on, sometimes you have to pick which one you want to look at and things like that. But there's another fight that's taking place next Saturday too. But yeah. Now tomorrow we've got this fight between Frampton and what's his name? Jamel Herring. Now, early in this show, I was talking about that whole thing about COVID. You know, it was revealed that Herring had come down with COVID too prior to the fight with Okendo. Now that we know that COVID can be quite debilitating for people in their respiratory system, some of these fights, Reggie, that fighters have had about with COVID and come out, even if they've been successful, you kind of have to file their condition in the data bank so we'll have more and more information to assess. Now, before you joined on, one of the things I had kind of spoke about here was, you know, they reported that Sean Porter is now home and out of the hospital. What are your thoughts on that? Because Sean had COVID, Reggie, and though he doesn't have any fights on the horizon, it'd be good to monitor Sean and see what happens. So when he does get a next fight, you know, how he performs. Sean has always had this thing where he's been one of the most finely conditioned fighters in the sport. Great, tremendous, you know, being in shape for matches. High motor. It's going to be interesting how that works with him going forward.
Yeah, I know he was hospitalized from it, so he must have had a bad case of it. I know I heard he had it. I thought he just went in quarantine, but dang, he had to be hospitalized, man. But yeah, no, it's something to watch. It's definitely something to watch. And I think something I was seeing an article they were saying Frampton was saying the same thing. He think that could affect the why Herring was having such a poor performance against the last guy he faced. He's facing that dude who was like almost literally a whole foot shorter than him. And Herring couldn't do nothing to keep the guy off him. But I think Frampton was saying he thinks something lingered from the effects of that COVID stuff. But Herring never mentioned it, but maybe it's something he's not cognizant of. But it could be a case. But I think fighters just have to pay attention to what the doctors are saying, get themselves thoroughly checked as well, examine properly before they go ahead, moving forward with a decision to hurry up and get back in ring to quickly chase a check, but not being fully up to at least an 80% standard. So only time to tell, and just the severity of the cases that they have from the COVID, because it affects people differently. Sean Porter's case, if he is hospitalized, it seems pretty like it could be pretty serious, especially for an athlete needing to be able to have his heart work at a certain rate and also his lungs to maintain a certain capacity. So we'll definitely see if Sean's showing some signs, and yeah, he definitely probably impacted by this virus here.
Yeah, that's why, you know, when I did that show last night, man, we can't move forward without that virus being a part of the conversation when people have come in contact with it. L-Dub says, don't forget, Linares is coming off of COVID. That's why his fight with Fortuna was off. See, I didn't know that. So that's going to be very interesting. Very interesting. We have to keep this in mind. Fighters who've had COVID and coming back, and how they perform in the match coming back. That Miguel Berchelt and Oscar Valdez thing. Berchelt had a bout of COVID before their fight. So did that weaken him? Possible. That doesn't take away from Valdez's victory. It's just that we don't have enough data and background on this and how it's affected fighters professionally until we get enough of it and we gather it. That's why it's a part of the discussion, first and foremost. L-Dub also says Vlasov. Oh, I'm sorry. It moved on me. He said Joe Smith versus Vlasov on April 10 on ESPN. Yeah, that's the other fight that I was thinking of, Reggie. That Joe Smith and Vlasov are fighting. And Boxing and Barbecue says, watch that hot boxing with Mike Tyson with Sugar Ray Hearns and Mosley. It was great. I understand what you always talk about, Stormy. These old school guys were cut from a different cloth. Yes, sir. He says they fought each other multiple times and it made for great fights, legacy fights that would be talked about forever. The only regret I have from that interview is Hagler not sitting on that couch. Yeah, man. I know. I was thinking of that myself. L-Dub says Vlasov is coming off of COVID too. His fight with Smith was postponed in February. And see, this is just April. That's a very fast turnaround for someone who's had COVID, been in training camp, and is now getting ready to fight. So it's like, did the body have enough time to really recover from COVID? You might be over it, but have you recovered? There are people, Reggie, that they're saying like 6 to 8 months after having it, that they still don't feel themselves and stuff like that. And these fighters, yes, they have to earn their payday, but you know, the depletion of your body, you may not ever be 100% again, you know. And that's what the discussion is. And I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade. I'm just trying to speak what the unknown is and what we should start considering in our mix. And then when you start talking about matchups and you know someone definitely is coming off of COVID or has had a bout of COVID, but the other opponent has not, then you kind of like have to give some points to the guy who has not, because he's fighting at his normal full capacity, whatever that may be. The guy who's had COVID is not at their capacity due to what the virus does to you. So I don't know how many different ways I could try to stress that, but it's something that we're going to have to make part of the equation when we start talking about these fights. Let's see. Boxing and Barbecue says the interaction between all those champions was legendary. Yes, sir. And L-Dub's asking, he said, Boxing and Barbecue, how do you feel about Estrada, Chocolatito, Soren Visai, and Quadras? They all fought each other multiple times in great fights. Well, L-Dub, you know I loved it, man, because I talk about those guys. I did videos on them, and I, like yourself, are one of the few people who have talked about those guys in the lower weights, man. They're good fighters down there at those lower weights. I mean, what do you have on that, Reggie?
With the Estrada run for side, the thing I don't like about it is that franchise crap has been put in place. And I think that's a huge problem, because now it's Mauricio pulling his franchise tactics. Anytime it seems like there's a threat to a fighter that is either a countryman, someone he favors, someone with management that goes down there and speak to him and hands him these gifted bags, these Easter bags with green in it, rabbit food in it. He comes with these type of distinctions, and this is a way to keep the guy who has defeated both fighters out of the hunt. Like, where's the franchise tag? What's the reason behind him franchising these people? What's the reason behind taking away from taking on mandatory challenges or whoever else is out there? Like, I have a problem with this cat doing that. The rematch, I don't mind seeing it, but I don't think Rumfasai should be kicked to the side from facing these guys because Mauricio put in a franchise tag. What's the purpose of it? So now you want to put this tag here and then also have it's him trying to get his piece of this pie as well. As the other way to look at it is to place that as a franchise tag and then elevate Rumfasai, if that's what he's done, to have him paying additional fees as well. I don't know. It's just a money grabbing tactic by this dude. But the fact that they don't honor the fact that Rumfasai is in his position and let whoever's the winner that think that trilogy fight, then we'll see the true scandalous size and objectives behind Mauricio and his decision. That's the only thing I don't like about that kind of play between these fighters here.
Yeah, and also the question is really because we do understand what Suleiman is doing with that franchising and stuff, but I think what L-Dub was addressing out there was the fact that these guys all fought each other at those lower weights a couple of times, multiple times, and now they're all positioning for trilogy bouts. So speaking in that aspect, I think it's a good thing. They have shown that they're not afraid to, give a guy another shot, but at the same time opt to challenge for superiority by, being the best in a rubber match. I think that's what L-Dub was, stressing after us speaking on Leonard, Hearns, and Mosley and them being on hot boxing with Mike Tyson and Hagler not being there. I think these guys facing off against one another, it's why we still talk about them today. And I think that Soren Visai, Estrada, Chocolatito, and Cortez, all of them down there doing the same thing. We give them the same respect because they are, positioning themselves in a manner of which, hey, you have to take note on what they're accomplishing. We got early morning, Reggie. We got Akhmad, how do we say his name? Akhmad Daliev is taking on Iwasa over there in the Ukraine, I think it is. These guys are, Uzbekistan or something like that. They're fighting. And that's for that super bantamweight title. And these guys are going to be on DAZN. According to the time I checked, it says 9 o'clock a.m. my time. So I don't know if that's 100% valid. I won't be able to double check it until after the show. But yeah, these guys are fighting early because of the time difference, the time zone. And I think I'm going to wake up and try to watch that, Reggie, because I want to see some boxing tomorrow besides the Frampton fight. But do you remember this guy, Akhmad Daliev? Because I remember him in a fight against that brother. I can't think of his name right now, but he took the guy's WBO belt.
That name sounds familiar. I'm gonna have to box rec him, but the name sounds very familiar. I'm gonna check to see what fighter it was he took out.
Yeah, so that's the thing. When we watch boxing, when you might watch enough of it, even for the guys that you don't know very well, if you stay on top of the sport, the names do become familiar. So salute to L-Dub out there once again, because he's one of the people that put these guys' names out there. And if you do decide to tune in to the bouts, you may discover that, hey, there's someone out there that may you want to keep your eye on. And again, I don't have a problem watching smaller weight guys. I don't. They're very entertaining. And then when you find guys that be at that smaller weight class that can punch, it's like, man, when you look at the punching power that they have as opposed to the size that they are, that lets you know how strong of a man they really are. You know what I'm saying? So it's very interesting. It's the equivalent of like Deontay Wilder knocking a guy like Brazil or a guy like Fury cold and he's only, 50 pounds less than them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's the equivalent what we're talking about. So, but yeah, this fight is on DAZN, and it's going to be interesting to watch this. You there?
Yeah, I was typing in the guy's name, trying to see who Akhmadelev is.
Yeah. We've seen him before because we've talked about him on a Friday night chop session, and I think I did a video on him. So let me go back to the chat here. Boxing and Barbecue, he's telling L-Dub that he's going to go back and watch those guys, talking about Estrada, Chocolatito, and Quadras, and Sorum Visai. Yeah, they're good fighters. And Sorum Visai seems to be the most heavy-handed out of all of them. Chocolatito seemed to have, when he was fresher, he seemed to have the fighting acumen. He could punch more, higher volume and stuff like that. Estrada seems to be a guy who has learned after, facing a guy and having return matches, he can adjust to it a little bit. And Quatras, I haven't seen enough of him to make a proper assessment, but I do know he's fought a couple of those guys and he's fared very well. So nice little round robin they got down there with those guys at that weight class. So yeah, the last one, Reggie, that we had on the plate, of course, would be the fight with Herring and Frampton. Now that's dude, that's an interesting thing right there, Reggie, because Herring and Frampton, again, we're talking about Herring coming off of COVID and whatnot, and Frampton being a smaller guy. I think he's 5'5", and he's got like a 66 or 68 inch reach, and Herring is like 5'10". He's got 72 inch reach. These men are a Mutt and Jeff style matchup here. Frampton has 2 defeats on his record. Herring has 2 defeats on his record, but they 34 and 35 years old, respectfully. So they're not even prime guys. They're older guys in the sport. So Frampton has a type of experience where he could use this venue in Dubai to his advantage. Americans are just not liked and respected outside the U.S. when they go on other soil. So Herring may have to find himself coming outside of what he normally does and do a little extra simply to try to get a victory, especially if he's not in a position to put Frampton on the canvas or knock him out or something like that. He's going to have to secure rounds in real dominating fashion, because anything close, Frampton's getting the nod. What are your thoughts on this one, Reggie?
I think it's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a very, very tough fight. And Herring's going to have to display better ability to control in the fight. He's going to have to be able to back Frampton up. He's going to have to show these things so that way the judges over there don't rob him of this fight. He want to show clear signs of him having advantages round by round, unless he can get a stoppage. But I doubt that this fight is stopped. I think it's either whoever wins is going to win it by decision, But coming off of what Herring looked like in that last fight and showing the fact that he'll look for a way to get up out of a fight, that wasn't a good sign to me. This is almost the last go for Frampton. So Frampton, if he's truly hungry, he's gonna press through this one. Try to get one more hurrah. Trying to get matter of fact, this would be for a title because Herring's a title holder, right?
Yeah, Herring has the WBO super featherweight title.
Oh yeah. So Frampton's gonna be extra motivated in this fight, and Herring's gonna have to show more. To be honest, I still can't get over what I saw with Herring. But even before Herring fought that short dude, I still didn't think too much of what I've seen from Herring. But that one right there just really took the cake. And then seeing what he did to try to get out of it really took the cake. And he's going to go in here, and Frampton's going to use that from studying that fight, studying other fights, seeing what he sees that makes Herring uncomfortable in fights. And if there's pressure that makes Herring uncomfortable in fights, then that's what Frampton can apply on him. And just stay in his chest. Don't stay at the end of jabs. Stay right in his chest, because you can already see Herring's not comfortable fighting there. Herring ain't got no inside fighting game. And I think that's going to be the best bet for Frampton, and not allow Herring, who's tall fighter in that division, to be able to keep him on the outside at the edge of a punch. But that's my thoughts. I think I favor Frampton in this fight, though. And especially with him being over there and having those judges. The other thing about Dubai, that Middle Eastern region and the UK are heavy business partners and stuff. And that's why Eddie can go over there and do workings with the Saudis or any of the families over in Dubai, wherever it's at. They do, they're big time partners with the Middle East. Middle Easterns can think two craps about Americans. They ain't got that same hatred towards Black Americans, not too much, but he's still American to them. So he may run issues depending where these judges from and who has gotten to these judges. So he got to keep that in his mind, Herring, if he's looking to win. Got to control this fight. He got to bring the fight, stay clean in the fight, not allowing himself to get backed up and walk down in this fight. But that's my thoughts on that.
And salute to Watcher out there in the chat. He says, don't forget the NTK global factor Frampton has. Absolutely, man. You know, being involved with those people, you know, this is why I say Frampton's got his work cut out for him. I'm not Frampton. I keep saying him while I mean Herring. Herring's got his work cut out for him in this fight. This is not going to be just an easy thing of him being, you know, having size and reach, height and reach rather, over the man. He's going to have to do some skillful things in there, put Frampton on the canvas a series of times, if not out completely, because this goes to the distance. That WBO title goes bye-bye. And again, coming off a bout of COVID, maybe that could explain why he was so fatigued and wanted to quit against a Kendo. I don't know. But here we have another bout where, you know, he'll be taken to task. And it's just something to consider. You know, I think that we both are on to something when we say, hey, you know, this guy's going to have to put it all together. You know, it's not going to be easy pickings for him, but at the same time, he's going to have to do something to make these judges take note. And again, you think that Frampton on one of the scorecards is probably up 3 rounds already, and the fight ain't till tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, so that those are my thoughts on it. It wouldn't surprise me, Reggie, if Frampton tried to go in there and blitz Herring, because this is a fight that Herring wanted, and you can kind of say it's his first big fight for whatever reason, because it's Carl Frampton. This is a big fight. So will he have jitters? Will he be, will he have stardust in his eyes, so to speak? Will he be able to rise to the event, or will he fall and be crushed by the weight of it? There's a number of questions that need to be answered. So that's I think that's fairly reasonable to put that on the table that way, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. But I still think Frampton's gonna win this fight tomorrow.
Right, but I don't know if you think I was talking about Herring. I was talking about what Herring needs to do, but I was also saying that I think this is going to be his first big event, first big fight, and you don't want to go into a big fight of this magnitude not having something that prepared you for it along the way, and that's what I'm trying to say. I think he could be crushed under the weight of it, the pressure. And he's fighting in foreign soil and everything. So that Semper Fi moniker and alias that he goes under as a boxer, he's going to have to channel that into the ring.
Yeah, he can't be over there having one of them Regis Prograis moments, like versus when he fought Josh Taylor.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. But I do favor Frampton in this. I don't think they're taking this thing to Dubai for just, what do you call it? Coincidence, And who knows what the testing and stuff is going to be. Maybe Frampton will come in juiced. I don't know. Hey, it's just something to think about. That's all. So, but man, I'm dragging toward the finish line here. I look forward to the bouts. I'm gonna bed down and get some sleep so I can get up and catch them early. And why don't you go ahead and give everybody some final thoughts, Reg, and let them know about your backup channel.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. Thank you guys for coming through, man, catching some more of this good boxing talk. You guys can catch me at Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens as the main channel, and also my backup channel with number 2 at the end of it. And I will be calling the fights on the backup channel until next week. The next week, I'll probably call fights on both channels. So start building up that other channel just in case, because I'm a policy violator on YouTube. So that's what it is. It is what it is.
Reggie is the rebel out here in these streets, the rebel. That's why I like having him on here with me, because I know he can hold up on that end. He makes Stormy look like, I'm the classy one. But no, hey man, it's always good to have you on here, man. Boxing and Barbecue is out there. He says, I didn't know it was fights tomorrow. Man, what do you think we've been talking about the past? Yeah, we got the Frampton fight with Herring is tomorrow afternoon on ESPN, roughly around, I think it's going to be around 1 to 2 o'clock Central, sometimes, something like that. And then the DAZN fight with Akhmadaliev and Iwasa, that is in the morning Central Time, like around 8, 9 o'clock, something like that. So yeah, Boxing and Barbecue, we got some fights tomorrow, man, but they're early, nothing late, nothing in the evening, but this, So, but yeah, we're gonna get ready to get on up out of here. This is Stormy B, man. Glad everybody came out. If you didn't hit the like button on your way in, don't forget to hit it on your way out. And we're gonna talk some more boxing tomorrow. Hey, Reggie, as far as the ESPN card, do you want to do a post-fight early or do you want to do it later? You there? You're on mute if you're there. Reggie? I can't hear Reggie now. Unless he went away from his mic. I know Reggie writes in the chat. We can't hear you, Reggie. You got to go out and come back in. Wow, okay. All right, well, we're at the end of the show anyway, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna. Okay, he said signal crash. I saw it in there. Okay, so we're gonna sign on off. Everybody have a good evening. Enjoy your weekend, and we will catch you in the post-fight show. Reggie and I will figure out if we're gonna have it early or late. I'll put a reminder out as soon as we get a chance to do so. So that's what we'll do. Are you there now, Reg?
Yeah, there I go. Yeah, came back.
Yeah. You know, I think they're doing something to the systems because everybody is having some kind of trouble from time to time. I think they corrupt the signals and stuff like that on purpose. Because remember,
it's my modem. It's my modem, OG.
Yeah, but it still happens on other channels as well, though. I'm noticing that. But no, I was asking you, do you want to do a post-fight show right after the ESPN, or do you want to wait till later?
No, yeah, we can do it. We can do it right after the fight.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. I'll set things up early, and we'll do the post-fight show right after the Herring and Frampton fight. So that's basically what I was trying to ask you when your signal went down. So, but yeah, man, great show. We're going to get on out of here, get ready. Got to get me a little sleep before these fights in the morning. And, you know, I catch you guys tomorrow, and we'll catch you on the post-fight show. So this is Stormybman. For my man Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens, we signing on off. Everybody enjoy your night. Reggie, you got late stream tonight?
No late streams.
Okay. All right, just double checking because I was going to tell people to go check you out if you had some late streams going on. So, but yeah, man, we're going to get on out of here. That's it. Peace to everybody. Have a good night.
Peace.
Peace.